This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning and welcome to your live safari on Djuma. My name is David and we're going to be exploring with you this morning. We've just spotted a small herd of elephant and it's a good start to the morning. Welcome to your live safari in the African wild. Good morning and welcome. This is an epic morning out here on the Djuma property in the Sabi sands. We've just started game drive and already a small herd of elephant have presented themselves. A lovely start to the morning. My name is David Hancock. On camera we have Theo and we are going to be exploring the bush with you this morning to see what we can find. Haven't heard anything just yet on the predator side, but I'm sure they're not far. We did have a leopard's tracks go right through camp this morning. So who knows where the felines are. But a lovely start with these elephant. A nice and crisp morning. Everyone, including us, is waiting for the sun to rise and warm our bones. I am so stoked for this morning and very excited to hear from everyone. Love to hear any questions and comments you may have. Please send them through using hashtag WildEarth on the YouTube chat. We would love to hear from you. Answer any questions and queries. It's always nice to get interaction from the viewers, to hear what you're thinking. All around us, I can feel the bush coming alive, the birds starting to sing, the calls of welcoming the sun as the giant orange ball rises over the horizon.
Good morning from andBeyond in Ngala. My name is Eric. And behind camera, as always, is Owen. And this morning, we decided to go into a slightly different area. So we decided to explore the eastern part of the reserve. So we've started to head east. And luckily, we found something quite extraordinary up in a tall tree. If you are a sensitive viewer and you're a little bit squeamish, please be careful and don't look at the screen. But we have found an impala carcass that is right at the top of a large tambuti tree. And you can just see off to the left that big clump right over there. And so different area, different tree, different leopard to what we had last night, which is quite exciting. We haven't seen any sign of the leopard that made this kill this morning, but this area is very, very thick, so trying to find a leopard in this terrain is going to be quite challenging. And so we decided maybe she's gone off to go and have something to drink or just resting somewhere close by, and she might, just before it starts to heat up for the day, try and get back to the carcass to feed a little bit. We think it might be from a leopardess who has got a cub. So she could have even gone and fetch a cub to take it to this kill. And just look at how vertical this tree is. I mean, it is at least, I would say, 4 meters before that first fork. And just very, very thin hardwood. So an incredible job that this female leopard has done to hoist her kills so well in this very, very tall tree. In actual fact, Owen, if you go to the first fork and zoom in there, you can actually see where the bark has been taken off. If you go up a little bit more, just on the left hand side of the fork, up a little bit more, you'll just see this big patch of red. There it is there. And so that is probably from when her claws stuck into the tree and scraped down and just dislodged some of the bark. And there's several of those patches all the way up that tree. And so we'll give it some time, and hopefully Owen and I get to see her returning to the spot. It will be even better if we get to see her climbing up this tree.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve with myself, Clive, and Marcel behind the camera. So we've come up to this beautiful spot because every now and then you get a morning where there's just mist out over this massive valley in front of us, and we thought this would be a perfect spot for us to watch the sunrise this morning. So I'm going to keep quiet. You can listen to some of the beautiful bird sounds this morning. Let's have a minute to just enjoy this. What an incredible morning. It's so beautiful on these winter mornings where you just get this mist. I mean, it's all over here. Wow, some of it actually looks like a blanket that's just over the land here. It's really, really incredible. Momo, that is exactly right. Nothing more beautiful than an African sunrise. Just the color. So where that is, where that little bank of clouds is just below the sun there, is where the Indian Ocean is. So from where we are here, we're probably in the region of about 30 kilometers, I'd say, in a straight line to where the ocean is. So we're actually very close. And the sun is obviously rising straight over the ocean. So from my room this morning, I actually heard lions. And I thought, with us sitting here for 20 odd minutes in silence, just listening and watching the sunrise, I thought we might be able to hear which direction it was coming from. But we've been up here for a little bit of time and we haven't heard anything yet. So we are going exploring today. We're going to drive this whole area out in front of us and see what we can come up with.
Is this not just the most beautiful way to start the morning? A small herd of elephant are still just in front of us here, all scattered out through the bush. We're enjoying them as the sun rises behind and illuminates that mist in the valley. Look at that heat rising off the elephant. See the condensation in its breath in this crisp, cool winter morning. You say, eating so peacefully. They are indeed. These cool hours of the morning, I think they really enjoy it. I think they are naturally very hot animals with all that big body mass, producing all that metabolic activity. So I think they quite enjoy these winter mornings. Nice and cool and comfortable. There's a little youngster hiding here behind this little bush here. Also very comfortable, very content this morning. Mommy's nearby, there's nothing to fear. Just filling its mouth with food. JHA, you've asked, why do elephants have those hair tufts at the tips of their tails? When one of them turns a bit, we'll have a quick look at that tuft. And the main reason for that, I would say, is probably as a fly swatter. Most animals, especially herbivores, have a decent tuft of hair at the tips of their tails. And when the insects are out, those tails are always busy swatting off flies. Here you can see as this youngster turns around, you can see that tuft of hair, and that's extremely coarse hair. If you were to feel it, it would actually remind you of plastic. Very thick hairs, like bristles. Sometimes you even pick them up in the bush when you're out on walking trail, and it really feels just like plastic. You can imagine, as a herbivore out here, without hands that can scratch, that smelly end is always surrounded by flies and insects, so quite handy to have a fly swatter. Always eating, always keeping up their intake. Elephants have to eat a lot to maintain their body mass and health. So pretty much every time you see them, they're eating. On occasion, if it's a really hot day, you might see them napping under a tree or against a termite mound. But for the most part, it's one big salad fest. Just having one of the Djuma safari vehicles drive here behind us, in case you heard that sound. Lovely to have them out again as we all help each other in search for what we can find. Elephants are just starting to move. I'm just going to push my nose in a little bit to the left. Let's see if I can get a little bit of a better look. What a lovely start to the morning. I see these game viewers have got something here. I'm just going to quickly make a radio call. Mike and Ngala. Sorry, Malum, what do you have there? You guys aren't going to believe this. Copy, man. Can I have a quick look there before Rexon gets in? So, as we were sitting here with our elephants, literally 5 meters away, the game vehicle came up and spotted Shidulu. So we got literally going to move 5 meters. Copy, thanks, Manu. How's that? From the elephant to Shidulu. Does not get much better than that. Just watch her tip of that white tail. She disappears into the grass. We'll try and get another look. There are 2 other vehicles already in the sighting, so we're just going to have to work with them. Sorry, I'm going to speak. Sorry, Malum. Sorry about that. Just quickly speaking to this guy. Oh, as we were sitting with the elephant. Did she walk behind us? That's brilliant, man. What a lovely morning. Doesn't get better, eh? How funny is that? I don't know if you heard that conversation. He said, as we were looking at those elephants, Shidulu walked right behind us. I love it when that happens in the bush. It's like it throws it all at you at once. You think to yourself, well, what are we going to see this morning? And sure enough, elephant and leopard, pretty much in the same sighting, within 5 meters of each other. Let's try and inch forward here and see if we can get another look. Sorry, FC, I did not get that last question. But I'm sure we'll get back to it shortly. Let me just quickly try and reposition, and then we'll see if we can get you another look.
It's amazing that we've already started with a leopard. We're also really hoping that we get to see this leopard this morning that's made this kill. the only thing that we've been seeing and what we're trying to show you at the moment is a hyena. And it must have followed the scent trail or got a whiff of this carcass, and it came to investigate. And it seems like it wasn't the only one. There's about 2 or 3 others that are lying in the dense bushes, which might tell us that this leopardess isn't around. I think if she was here and those hyenas were moving through the bushes right next to the carcass, there's a good chance that they would have flushed her out. And I mean, we might have heard her snarling or growling at those hyenas, but we haven't seen or heard any sort of sign of her yet. So she could have moved off, and it's in such a good position that she doesn't feel that it's at risk of being stolen by anything other than another leopard. And so hopefully she's going to go and fetch off her cub. We're going to give it another couple of minutes. If we don't see any signs, then we might drive along the river just to see if we can see any tracks of her.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a chilly, misty morning here in Djuma. This has just happened. Hyena, I think this kill is stolen. An impala, there's a leopard here somewhere. We just need to figure out where. We're quite deep in a block, and the impala are very, very upset. Of course, they've just lost one of their own. My name is Lauren, and I have Craig on camera today. I haven't even identified this hyena yet because, well, oh my goodness, it is deep. Ooh, that's not so pleasant for this morning. If you are slightly squeamish, this is probably not the scene for you. Come on, hyena, give us a look. We are going to race around. As much as I love hyenas, I want to try and see who this leopard is. This impala was definitely taken down by a leopard and stolen by this hyena. Can you hear them? They're still very, very unhappy. So I think what I'm going to do is now go around and try and see if we can locate the leopard. The impalas are calling from this side. If any of you have an ID on this hyena, please let me know. Hashtag WildEarth or @FC on YouTube and Twitch. But we will come back. It's just slightly gruesome at the moment. And I would really like to see a leopard. Let me just figure out the best way to do this. Wow, what an incredible start to the morning. Craig and I just heard all these alarm calls. And there's the impala. I wonder if Craig can give you a view. Can you get them from here, Craigie? They could possibly be still alarm calling at that hyena. You see, away off in the distance. They're still barking quite furiously. The leopard will still be here, for sure. It's just where is the question. We'll come out this block. Well, the hyena's on the move. Oh, this is not very pleasant. This hyena knows it's got to eat fast. The smell, the scent, it's going to go in the air and it's going to attract other hyenas or predators. Look at that, look at the strength of the neck. Oh, leopard, leopard, leopard. Got it. Got it. Ah, female, definitely a female. Don't know who yet. I knew the leopard would not be too far away. Look at that. Oh, we did it, Craig. Have no idea who this is yet. Is it Tandy? I think it's Tandy. Look at that body posture. Knows there's a hyena nearby. They're very, very close to one another. The hyena also knows there's a leopard nearby. Ha! And if you think of how petite a female leopard is compared to a hyena, they normally run. Oh, the impala are not happy. 2 apex predators in the area. Hello, girl. It's very lovely to see you. Our queen. What an exciting morning. Can you hear the sound of the impala? I don't actually know what is still left there to eat. Probably not very much. I'm just going to have to call this in, I'm afraid.
I read you loud and clear. Hey, how's it on?
Okay, everybody's busy talking for now. The radio never stops. So what happened here was Tandy made this kill, I'm sure of it. Hyena came, chased her off it, but she stayed in the vicinity. She knew not to go too far. The hyena's gone off with part of the impala, and Tandy's came back in to see what else she can get. It was her kill, after all. Oh, so good to see her. Where's your little one, Tandy girl? And this is why it always pays to just turn off your engine. The engines are noisy in any car, really, unless it's an electric car. And it's best just to stop, turn off, and navigate your way in to where the sort of alarm calls are coming from. So Shadulu's up the other side of Djuma. She walked through our camp last night. And Tandy's down here in her southeastern corner. The leopard dynamics are fascinating at the minute. They're really fascinating. Tandy's really moved back east to her original stomping grounds. I don't think we'll really ever see Tandy too far near our camp anymore. I think that's very much Shadulu's area.
Roxanne, come in for me.
Oh my goodness, I cannot get onto this radio. Oh, how wonderful. Just a quick update, I did check on the hyena den and no one was home. All the hyenas are clearly busy, scavenging from the leopards. Did anyone manage to ID that hyena?
Folks, come in for me.
Ranga, yes, you're saying it looks like a spotty day, absolutely. It started off incredibly well. I love piecing the parts of the puzzle together. Craig and I heard the alarm calls from quite far away. we actually framed up the sunrise for you all. So you could see the beautiful sunrise, and all we could hear was furious alarm calls coming from Impala. So you follow the sound, which is really not that easy, and Craig actually spotted the hyena. But I knew there was a leopard in the vicinity, there had to be. That was a very fresh kill. We missed it by mere minutes. Good morning, mobile stations. We've located Tandy, female Ingwe, in the block between Leadwood and Firebreak. Didn't quite catch that name, but the question, would Tandy and Shadulu share a kill? Absolutely not. No way. They are both dominant territorial females, sorry, and different age brackets. Tandy's a lot older than Shadulu. Shadulu's actually in her prime right now, very much in her prime, and they will be very much aware of one another through scent. Maybe not visually, but Tandy will know exactly who Shadulu is. She'll have known Shadulu her entire life, and Shadulu will know who Tandy is purely through scent, recognizing one another through chemical cues, and they will be aware that their boundaries of their territory meet. But boundaries are very fluid. They will continually move. So Tandy could push slightly in, Shadulu could push slightly out. But no, they will never share a kill. Tandy's definitely got a lot more experience than Shadulu.
Yeah, bro. How do you read me now, okay?
Look at that. Just eating what she can. She execute, oh my goodness, I can't speak this morning. What is wrong with me? Tandy made the kill. And it was stolen. All that energy, all that precision involved. And it's gone. And that's the risk leopards have to take out here. Ah, what a morning. Of course, I'm going to sit here and enjoy watching Tandy eat her breakfast. Station.
Have a look here on andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. Off. All feeding. This is so incredible. The sunlight, you can actually see the steam coming out of their mouth. It's pretty much a photographer's dream here at the moment. And all shining in the morning light. It's a really, really amazing.
So this hyena is sleeping in this open grassland, and we left the impala carcass to see if we could find any tracks or signs of the female leopard to decide where she had gone to, so we could narrow it down a little bit, and we haven't seen anything. But we have found a clan of 4 hyenas that are sleeping in this open area. And that one on the right hand side is picking up its head, but on the left it looks like it's a mother with 2 quite old cubs that are getting a nice morning drink. And so they are suckling there at the moment. You see them every now and then. You can see that they are so big they almost look like they need to fight over the mother's teats. And also just so camouflage. I mean, you can, if they don't really move, you don't see them very well at all. And that one, the mother, is the one that we can see breathing, so you can just see the chest moving up and down. And then the cubs in the foreground. And that is a very, very full belly, and so she must have managed to feed on something last night. And I'm sure that she is part of the same clan that would have gone to go and investigate that impala carcass. We've only driven maybe about 250 meters away, and so I'm sure a few of her members will go and check there regularly. And now she's lifting up her leg. There we go, finally get to see one of the youngsters, and quite a big one. So just hyenas will do both. They'll hunt themselves and they'll scavenge. It depends in which area hyenas occur in. If there's lots and lots of predators, so if there's lots of lions, lots of leopards who make their own kills, you find that hyenas tend to scavenge a lot more. If they're in an area where there's quite a low density of predators, and these hyenas are battling to find food, then they will hunt themselves. And surprisingly, rather successful hunters. They will probably, if they try on a regular basis, they've probably got a higher success rate than the cats in general. And they will hunt in a similar fashion to wild dogs, where it's not a burst of speed, but it's more of an endurance hunt where they tire the animal down, which can be a lot more effective than that burst of speed. Get exhausted, and then if that animal's too quick for you, then you have to stop your hunt. But in this area, I guess it's a bit of both, but I'd say the majority of the time it would be scavenging. And so when they leave their dens, they'll go off individually, and they'll find these little scraps of bone that have been dropped by a leopard carcass, or they might find the remains of a lion carcass that the lions killed the previous night, and they'll be able to feed on that by themselves. But as soon as there's more of them together, there requires a lot more food. So that's when they might try and hunt something. And they're pretty effective. I mean, hyenas, 4 or 5 of them might be able to go after an injured old buffalo bull, maybe a zebra or a wildebeest, and they've got the intelligence to coordinate it really nicely. So if they work well together as a group, it's a very good chance that if they are wanting to hunt, it will end in a success. These hyenas have all got their heads down and they're resting, so don't think that they're going to be moving around too much. So I'm going to carry on from here and see if we can find any tracks of that female leopard.
Well, luckily we have our leopard. Now, the radio is very busy, I'm afraid. I am going to possibly just have to keep it up in case anyone wants to come into this sighting. So bear with me. I think there's lots of predators around today, which is great news. So whatever the hyena has left behind, Tandy's managing to feast on. And that's exactly why hyenas follow leopards all day long. They don't always just smell for anything. They're smelling for leopards. And I'm a firm believer that the hyenas will know exactly which leopard they're following. I really believe they'll know, this is Tandy, this is Tingana, Kalamba. They'll know. And they follow them for this exact reason. Tandy made this kill and immediately it was taken. She's looking fantastic. Genevieve, I have no idea. Tandy, why are you not taking the kill up the tree? I don't think there's much there. From what I can gather, it's really difficult to see. If you watched a hyena carry the carcass, it was carrying it away from Tandy. Lots of the insides, the internal organs fell out, which I know is not very pleasant to think about. And I think that's what Tandy's feasting on. I don't really think there's anything to take up a tree, if that makes sense. I think it's just organs. It's not a carcass. The hyena definitely got that. I think Tandy's just feeding on the... Oh, yeah, you see, it's not really much. I think it's the stomach contents and a few internal organs that she's managing to snack on. And of course, all the predators scavenge from one another. It's important to always note that. But Tandy has just lost out on all that nutrition. And she's just making do. She must be hungry. Most predators go for the internal organs first. They are the sort of, that's where all the nutrition is really harbored. So muscles will provide protein. And there's different types of muscles as well. But really, those internal organs, the liver, the heart, the kidneys, they provide the predator with a lot of nutrition. The vitamins, the minerals. So really, that's what the predators eat first. And I imagine it's quite delicious for them too. And then they start to make their way out. So they go right for the organs, and then once that's finished, they'll slowly start to eat the muscles. I'm going to sit tight here and see what else happens at this hyena-leopard interaction. Station on Leadwood Road, coming for Lauren.
All right, welcome back, and sorry about the technical difficulties we had when we were with the giraffe just now. But have a look at these cute little birds we found here. These are called black-winged lapwings. Now, I don't know if they've actually been shown on WildEarth before, so it's quite a nice, hopefully a new one as well. Really, really cool. Just one of the lapwings that we see around here fairly regularly, mainly out in this open area here. But a really pretty bird. You can see they're just constantly walking around. They obviously can fly, but they spend a lot of the time on the ground, running around just looking for little insects and things like that. Oh, sorry, I think I said black-winged lapwing. Sorry, these are called Senegal lapwings. There's another bird very, very similar called a black-winged lapwing. But the difference between them is the color of the legs. You'll see these have got quite dark legs, almost black legs, which makes them Senegal lapwings. The black-winged lapwing, which I first said it was, has got like pinkish red legs. It's funny how they like take a few steps and they stop dead. Then take a few steps, stop dead. Yeah, these birds will spend most of their time on the ground. They even nest on the ground as well, which is quite interesting. Most birds that you see that nest up in trees, like the doves and the bulbuls and the flycatchers and the starlings and all that, when their eggs hatch, those babies are still very, very young. No feathers, they're blind, and they spend quite a lot of time in the nest compared to these little lapwings and most other ground nesting birds, where their little young will be born ready, fully feathered, and can walk quite soon after that, and normally very well camouflaged in case there are predators around. Because out in these grasslands, we get lots of jackal. There's obviously quite a few birds around that could be predators. Jakarta, why are they called lapwings? That's a very good question. They actually used to be called plovers. And then a couple of years ago, they split the plover family up, and the kind of smaller plovers are still called plovers, and these bigger ones are now called lapwings. Very nice. Well, we're going to carry on exploring through this open grassland here and see what else we can find this morning.
She's on the move. She's looking for her carcass, which means that we have to follow. Very difficult to see in this morning light. The mist is rising. And it actually makes it really tricky to see. I can see her. I think she's looking for the rest of that carcass. Not that I think anything will be left. Wrexham, we've got her in sight if you just keep following me. Aha, that would be so lovely if you go up this termite mound, Tandy. But you're not going to, are you? No, my dear, you're not. Morning. A hyena stole it. I'll follow you. Good morning. Okay, we're just going to let Wrexham go ahead now. So that he can always turn to seeing Tandy and we shall follow him. Can you just see her there? She's right in the middle. See her ears. Well done, Craig. I think we're going to try and catch up with her before we lose her. Can you get her from here, Craigie? She's got her body very low to the ground. I wonder if she sees the hyena. Starlight, I think 0. That hyena will take it. The hyena ran with it. I don't actually know where it went. I don't think there's any chance of her getting it back. She might hang around for remains, because if the hyena doesn't pay enough attention... Yeah, the hyena's here. I'm going to go forward. Something's here, Craig. Yeah, the hyena's there. The carcass is there. We've got both animals in sight. Can you work with this? Hyena on the carcass over here. Tandy watching here. Amazing. She's waiting. She's waiting for a moment where the hyena's not paying attention and she can zoom in and hoist. If you think about it, there's plenty of trees around. All she needs to do is grab it and get up a tree and then it's gone. The hyena cannot get it back. It's like a game of tug of war. Now what this shows you, she's about 20 meters, possibly less, 60 feet away from the hyena. And what that shows you is that she's really not completely scared of the hyena. She knows the hyena's not an immediate threat to her, really. But she knows that she also can't risk injury. The hyena knows she's here. I still haven't got an ID yet, sorry. And the hyena knows got to eat fast. You would think they would get indigestion eating that fast. Is it Corky? I need all your help this morning. Londeka, if you do see any IDs, let me know. Wow, this is incredible. And if you think about it now, if we were to drive past, there's no alarm calls. So what that means is that we would probably drive past this. We wouldn't see this in the block. And we'd never know this was happening right here. Megan, you think it's Corky. I think it could be, just from that left ear. The sort of tip of the ear is chopped off and then torn a little bit. So it definitely could be Corky. Which is great news, of course, because we all know Corky's got a little one in that den. She needs to stock up on food. And I imagine she'll head straight there. Once she finishes this carcass, she'll head straight for the den. If it's Corks. But I think you could be right, Megan. Ah, Chris Rogue, thank you so much. It's Corks, yeah. I thought it was from that ear, but it's really tricky to tell from this angle with the sunlight. So thank you, Megan and Chris Rogue. We've got Corks. Corks and Tandy, both queens in their own right. Okay, the sighting may get a little bit busy, but we're going to try and sit here for as long as we can.
So we are sitting with a beautiful lilac-breasted roller here on zebra clearings at Pridelands, just enjoying the sun as it rises. It's been a very, very chilly morning, but actually very beautiful as well. There's a nice golden sun, it's clear and bright, and who knows what we might find. Hi, I'm Mike, and behind the camera is Seb, and as I said, we are here at Eco Training Pridelands Conservancy. And this morning we've been looking for any signs of predators. We heard lions last night in the distance, wondered if we could find some. We've seen some leopard tracks that we're going to try and find, but there's some elephants that have been walking all over the road, so it's a bit tricky. But yeah, so we've come to this clearing because it's very pretty and open, and it's the kind of place where a predator might come and sit in the early morning like this in order to get some of that sunlight on its body, and also just to listen and look out into the savannah, see what might be moving around. It's a gorgeous morning though. I reckon we're going to have a lot of luck. So what I'm going to do today is just drive all along these drainage lines in this area, hoping that we can find some signs of that cat. We've got a few other vehicles moving around, and you know, more eyes and ears is better to spot some animals. So in the meantime, let's keep moving slowly across this area. If we find anything, we'll let you know.
Good morning from what is short of a gorgeous day out here at Tswalu Kalahari. I just know this is going to be an exciting day. We've got nothing in particular planned, but I think it is just going to be totally awesome. Davy just working his usual magic there, and he's really doing this place justice, and he's getting some incredible footage that is often, well, not often, it is always difficult to catch. The sightings that we had yesterday were just like off the charts. It's something that I didn't expect. I mean, I know we've been searching for these wildcats. Sorry, my name's Dylan, by the way, for those that haven't met. But it's great having you with us. And yeah, I hope we just have a absolutely stunning day out there. I just get so excited every morning coming out because you never know what you're going to find. And like I said, I don't have any particular plans for today. What I think we'll do this morning, just because we know there was that wildcat kill yesterday, we're actually going to head out that direction now and see. There's a small chance, but you never know. I mean, that was a big meal, and we did confirm, for those of you who weren't with us, we did confirm that African wildcat actually caught one of the rock stars. And I'm pretty happy to say, when I say happy, I mean I'm confident to say that it was one of the sub-adults in that group. It wasn't one of the adults.
Oh, sorry about that. I wonder what happened to Dylan there. Ah, well, that happens from time to time. You're back with us. And we're just watching this scenario unfold. Tandy, look at her face. I don't think she's one happy cat. I wouldn't be either if my breakfast got stolen. Don't eat my peanut butter and banana, Craig, okay? My face will be like that. He won't. Craig's already had breakfast. He's an early breakfast man. Oh, Tandy. Patiently waiting for something that was once hers and sadly now is no longer, as Corky feasts. It's great that we're getting to see Corky so much again. She was very elusive for a while. Corky and Tandy, both elusive individuals in their own right. Tandy, where's your little one? I would like to meet him, please. She leaves her cub quite a lot, which is different from how she was with Kalamba. Flat cat, you're saying Tandy looks angry or hangry. I'm not sure which one Londeka said there, but I think she looks both. I think she looks angry and hangry. She was hungry, that was hers. Yeah, that is not a happy look of Tandy's. Leopards, only the figure for the Kruger National Park is 16% success for leopards. 16% success of all hunts. So what that means is that they fail the rest of the time. They attempt and they fail, like we watched Hosanna many times. Try, stalk, launch, miss. And of course this was one of the successful hunts for Tandy, and it's gone. It's gone from her straight away. And what I think she was feasting on back there was just really the sort of stomach contents in the rumen that she wouldn't eat anyway. Definitely not substantial enough for her. She wasn't quick enough in getting that impala up a tree. And that's exactly why leopards do hoist. Otherwise it'll be stolen from another leopard or from a scavenger like a hyena. April, that's a good question. Hyenas generally also don't share, just like leopards wouldn't share. But if it was an Elephant Plains hyena from another clan, no, she wouldn't share. That would be a very aggressive interaction. Depending on the size, that would probably stress who would win. If it was a Djuma clan member, a male, she would probably chase a male off. But let's just say it was Ribbon, the matriarch, the highest ranking of all females in the Djuma clan. She would probably just walk away and leave the carcass for Ribbon. So it really depends on who the hyena is as to how Corky would interact. A male, she'd probably just chase him off, but then let him linger around on the periphery. Any other female that's higher ranking, she would probably give up the carcass because she has to. And that's how life is for a low-ranking hyena, I'm afraid. Oh. She's very alert. I wonder if there's another hyena on the scene. Yeah, she hears something. She's probably going to get nervous because if it is the likes of Ribbon or even Hart or Ntima, she will have to give the carcass up. She knows that Tandy's there. Tandy's not a worry for her. And this is the life of feast and famine that I always talk about. This is a feast, but she's got to eat it so quickly it's all going to sit in her stomach. And that's when you see hyenas with these ginormous bellies. That's why I always say they have to rest and digest, because they do. They're filled to the brim with food. I think there could be another hyena around here somewhere. But that was a really good question, April, because it does depend on the situation as to how Corky would react. Whereas if Tandy had got that carcass up a tree, she could take her time. There would be no rush. Oh, Corky girl, you need to wash your face. It's a messy affair. And just before I went on leave, we actually had Tandy with June. June's another Djuma clanner, and she was following Tandy, hoping to come across a situation like this. And unfortunately, Tandy did not have a kill. But again, it just shows you they follow the leopards and they know exactly who the leopards are. Know your enemy. Tandy's still just sitting watching. It's rather sad. Camouflaged. You see? Tailor-made, yes, Corky's very much on guard. Now, I bring this memory up a lot because it was such a significant moment where Corky was actually eating something that she had scavenged at her own den. I have a funny feeling Craig was the cameraman for this, actually. And she was so busy eating that she didn't see the dark mane of Voka come out of nowhere and attack her. You've always got to be on guard. Anything can be lurking around. Was that you, Craig? Yeah. I think so. Dark mane was just lurking in the vegetation, wanted whatever Corky had, and launched at her, and it was quite a severe attack. So Corky, more than anyone, knows that she has to be careful. So I'm going to sit tight here and see how this all plays out.
WildEarth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the WildEarth family.
It's okay. Well, we had to leave Shadulu. She went into a very thick part of the bush, but it is lovely to spot her, and such epic news about Lauren and Tandy. We're just repositioning here. Just spotted a giraffe. Let's have a little look as she nibbles on the trees. Oh, now she's being shy. Oh, let me just go a little bit forward so that we can get another look at her. Sometimes I think giraffes have it the best. They can reach the tops of the trees that none of the other animals can reach. It's like their own private salad buffet. Oh, there's 4 of them. That's cool. Right over there. See those specialized mouths and tongues that can nibble and even feed on very thorny trees. They just pick their way around the sharp bits to those succulent leaves. Look how long that tongue is. Paige, you've asked, can giraffe be aggressive or are they mostly docile? And generally they are very relaxed and docile, but when it comes to being attacked, then yes, they can definitely display aggression, although I wouldn't call it aggression as much as more self-preservation, doing what they have to do to perhaps escape the claws and teeth of a lion. Their best defense is those long legs with which they can deliver a very powerful kick. Quite capable of killing a lion if they kick it in the right spot. And then of course your giraffe bulls will sometimes be seen fighting amongst each other. Perhaps if there's a female on season or a reason for them to compete, and they can display, I suppose you could call it aggression. And then what they do is they use those heavy heads and ossicles, the horns on top of their heads, as battering rams, and they swing their heads violently, trying to knock each other. I've also read accounts of giraffe actually killing each other in that method during their duels and bouts. You can imagine that huge head is very heavy, and if it connects in the right spot, it can cause some serious damage. But Paige, that's a rarity to witness for the most part. This is what you see, just chillaxing, feeding on some nice tasty leaves. Not a worry in the world. I actually remember a story my friends were telling me, that they witnessed a giraffe being hunted by a lion, and the lion managed to pull down the giraffe. This pride of lion wasn't too far from here, on the Tswalu Nature Reserve next door. And they witnessed this whole kill, and they saw the giraffe being eaten. It was quite a spectacle. And a few days later, when they went back to the carcass, it had all been eaten and vultures had picked it clean. Once the hyena started tugging on the carcass and things started moving about, they saw a female lioness had actually been crushed to death by the falling giraffe. So as that giraffe was pulled down by the rest of the pride, she must have just gotten on the wrong side, and giraffe fell on her and actually killed her. Isn't that an amazing occurrence? Very unfortunate for the lioness. In the wrong place at the wrong time. Harley, you've asked how many lions does it take to bring down a giraffe? Generally, it'll take the whole pride, because these are very large animals, and like I say, they've got ferocious kicks. But there have been accounts of large male lions taking down a giraffe, perhaps a younger giraffe. In the Kalahari Reserve, where I usually spend most of my time, there's an account of 2 lionesses that actually specialized in hunting giraffe, sometimes even just on their own. I even read a story where one jumped out of a tree onto a giraffe's neck. So generally it'll take a whole pride to answer your question, but of course, there's always those rare occurrences where single animals are powerful or clever enough to pull down a giraffe on their own.
The situation still remains the same here. Did you hear that? That's Corky. Oh, Tandy's on the move. Tandy's on the move. Keeping her body low. She blends in fantastically well to the vegetation. Benefit for her. She's light on her feet, much lighter than hyenas. Where's she going? That's Corky crunching through bones that you can hear. I've completely lost sight of Tandy. I think she's just keeping cover behind the vegetation. But if she is on the move, we will move. Corky's very alert. Where's she gone? Oh no. Sight of Tandy. I imagine the other vehicles will be able to see her. Is Tandy just there? Flat. Okay. Yeah, she's just behind the vegetation there. That was delightful. I bet you're all feeling hungry now. Crookie, I think they fell out. Corky will eat everything that she can. You can see that. She's crunching through bones. She may even swallow the hooves because they're quite small. On an impala, she can swallow them and then regurgitate them later. And I think they fell out. The carcass was open. I think Tandy had actually opened it. That's just a guess because we unfortunately missed that moment. But it was open when we saw Corky on it, and the insides fell out, I'm afraid. There's no way a hyena would leave anything behind, especially organs that contain all that nutrition. So because the carcass was open, sadly, they just fell out due to gravity, which is not very pleasant, but it meant that, of course, Tandy at least got something. I think we will try to reposition in just a bit because I want to keep my eye on this cat. Everyone who knows Tandy knows that she's very famous for giving us the slip. And Tlalamba's turned out to be exactly the same. A daughter like mother. Okay, so we will try and position now and hopefully we'll manage to get a view of our queen.
So we're still trying to figure out where this leopard has come to and gone to. And so we've been doing a big circle around the area to try and figure out exactly where this leopardess has gone off to. And luckily we've just managed to find her tracks. And it's quite interesting because we've got tracks of her going down the road and then back up. And so it's literally going back and forth. And so just to give you a bit of orientation, the carcass is directly in that direction, and the river is just down there. And so she's come, and she's walked down towards the river and she's gone back up. But sometimes it's quite tricky because we can't really see, especially if it's tracks going in opposite directions, which way is which and which way is the fresher tracks. And so you have to spend a bit of time looking. And I thought I'd show you the little example that we saw here, which is showing us that the tracks are going here. So firstly, in this area, you'll see there's a track over here. So this is the back pad that I'm just outlining with the 4 toes. And then this is also another track over here with the 4 toes. So this one is going that way, and that one is going that way. And she's literally walked exactly the same line, which is quite lucky for us. Because if we look on this track going that way, the toe, so her left toe, has just stepped on her track going in that direction. Which means that this track was set first and then this track came in afterwards. And so, what's really nice to know is that when I was coming down this morning, this is the vehicle that I used. This is the tire track that I used. So she's moved after we came to get on the vehicle to join Safari Live. And so she's come this way, and then she's walked straight back in that direction. And so I think it's about time for us to go back to that carcass and see if maybe she started to make her way back there already. Which she probably is. It's just a case of when she will arrive there. So let's go and wait. I think will be the best bet.
Welcome back to Djuma. On our end of the world, we've bumped into a few more elephants, but first, let's enjoy this fork-tailed drongo that is also enjoying the elephant. What I love about these birds is they appear to be fearless. They often chase other raptors and other birds much larger than them, and they're also very fond of sweeping and swooping in and amongst the feet of these giants as they walk through the bush and rustle up insects. And even sometimes humans, when you're out on a trail in the bush, you'll often find them darting in and out amongst your feet as you rustle up a grasshopper or two in the grass. Very quick on the wing, they can catch an insect with ease as it flies through the air. They're like little acrobats. The fork-tailed drongo. Often find them amongst a herd of elephants like this. Patiently waiting for its next meal before it swoops down. Let's just listen to the beautiful sound made by this herd of elephants as they feed. As it comes in, it must go out. You can imagine how important elephants are for the dispersal of seeds and new growth. They'll eat a tree here, some of its seed pods perhaps, and then walk many miles and deposit that dung somewhere else, and of course that seed lands in a very fertile growing medium. They're very important for the dispersal of trees and plants. So much one can learn watching these animals, and we as always welcome your questions and comments. Please send them in. Any questions or queries you may have, #WildEarth, and also don't forget, kids, if you're watching, kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. We love hearing from you. Don't forget to send in those questions. And there's an elephant kid playing in the road, throwing a little bit of dust over its shoulder. What a lovely elephant sighting. And this is a very big mommy. Perhaps the matriarch of this group. Definitely the biggest elephant here. We were chatting about matriarchs yesterday. How these elephants have a matriarchal society, and the dominant female in the herd or the group looks after her herd, shows them the secret bush paths that she has learned from her mother and her grandmother before, where the water holes are, the best feeding grounds, places where they can feel safe. And with that information, she guides her herd through the bush as they go on their wanderings in search of food and water. She's interested in us. Butterfly is saying this is a massive elephant family. It's not such a large herd. It's actually relatively small. There's only a handful. I see about 8 or 10. But this is a massive elephant butterfly. I'll definitely agree with you on that one. She is a big elephant. And so calm and beautiful. Look at that ivory glistening in the morning sun. It's been polished by years of rubbing on bark, using those tusks as tools as she digs into the bark of a marula tree or digs up roots. Cole, you've asked why does she flap the grass around before eating it? That's a very good observation, and that's a very important little process when elephants are feeding on grass. They don't do it with branches, there's no need, but with grass. The reason they do that is because they're trying to get the sand off the roots. So when they pull up a clump of grass, it obviously comes up with a bit of soil, and that soil's got some sandy bits in it. And those sandy bits are bad for their teeth. Elephants really have to protect their teeth. So by slapping that grass before putting it in their mouths, they dislodge the majority of that sand and soil, which would otherwise cause premature wear on their teeth as they grind up that food. As you may know, Cole, elephants have limited teeth in their lives. Only 6 sets, I believe. By the time that last set has pushed through from the back, and they are getting on in years, and eventually that last set will wear out, and they can no longer properly chew their food, which slows down the uptake of nutrients, and eventually they'll lose condition, and that'll be the end. So a very important observation there, Cole. That's the reason for slapping the grass. Hello, beautiful. very big mummy.
Lovely herd of springbuck down here. So, I can talk about all the physiological adaptations of these animals, but something I just want to touch on there is the ecological impact of what's happening in some area, or that's been happening over hundreds of years in many areas across the globe. And I'm going to kind of, in a way, compare springbuck with passenger pigeons, which are now extinct. And I'm not for a moment saying springbuck are going to go extinct, but there's a really interesting trend across southern Africa, in many, many areas of southern Africa, across their distribution, where springbuck numbers are in decline. And this hasn't quite been figured out yet. And it's kind of linked to climate change, bush encroachment, increased rates of predation from small predators in the absence of large, your big apex predators. But how that relates to passenger pigeons, so with the American passenger pigeon, we know that went extinct. But the amazing thing for me about that is it was the most common bird in the United States. In fact, I recall it may even have been one of the most abundant birds on the planet. And it wasn't globally distributed, but in terms of sheer volume of numbers, it was a massively abundant bird. Anyway, for various reasons, the numbers were crashing. And when they got down to about 20,000 or so, that's when they implemented these absolutely zero take rules. You couldn't touch these birds you couldn't even look at the thing without permission from someone. But anyway, but the problem there, the numbers just kept dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping. And it turned
Oh, hello again. You just caught me taking off my jacket because the sun is nice and high now and it's getting warmer, so bear with me. I have one arm in, one arm out. We've repositioned. So we've got the back of Miss Tandy's head, but we can see perfectly she's just lying down watching Corky. And we've seen there's really not much left of that carcass. Corky is absolutely demolishing it. So I really do think when Corky finally walks away, there's not going to be much left for Tandy. But she's not given up, she's stubborn. Hyenas generally don't leave much. So I'm not entirely sure what Tandy thinks she's going to get. You see that? They're in really close proximity to one another. Corky, you have something dangling. Now, I just mentioned to Craig, I truly believe if Tandy was to sort of stand up and charge at Corky, full speed, teeth out, claws out, Corky would run. She would. I just don't know why Tandy's been very submissive. Of course, she's trying to avoid injury. The hyena's jaws are very powerful, but I really do think Corky would run. Tandy's fast. She's got speed on her side. She could swoop in, grab, and run up the nearest marula, which is not too far away. And yet she's not doing it. You see that marula on the right-hand side? Perfect V-shaped for a leopard. I didn't get that name, but Tandy's not pregnant. No, she's got a cub. It's still very, very young. We haven't been so lucky to view this cub so much. She's keeping it very much under wraps as a male. And no, Tandy would not be coming into estrus right now. She's still lactating, and she's still very much looking after this young cub. Female leopards tend to sort of separate from their mother at around 18 months. Male leopards tend to stay with their mother for about 2 years. Males stay longer. They're mummy's boys. So because Tandy has a young boy, it's going to be a long time before Tandy will come back into estrus. Oh, Corky's on the move. Tandy's on the move. Look at this, they're both moving. Not entirely sure where Corky thinks she's going, but clearly somewhere. Go girl, go Tandy, go. Go get your breakfast. Corky's off. Looking around for any remains. I think this is a perfect time for us just to quickly reposition. Corky's away over there. Miles away. Now she's eating something. Let me just reposition carefully here. Here we go. How's that, Craig? Oh, no, she's moving again. There must be something delicious left down there. I completely lost sight of Corky. She was off. She's eating something, that's good news. A little scrap left behind. That's why she's hanging around. That's why she's staying here. She knows she's not going to get the carcass, but she may get something. Now remember, Tandy will be able to relocate Corky. She'll be able to smell. We might not, but Tandy will. She'll be able to smell that fresh carcass. Okay, we're going to keep our eyes on Tandy very, very closely, and hopefully she'll get some more breakfast.
We are still here with our lovely family of elephant. Just enjoying watching this youngster eat. What epic news that Lauren managed to locate Tandy. We had Shidulu this morning. Just yesterday, Lauren and I were concerned that we had not found Leopard. We actually had a little bet going that the last one to find a leopard would have to run 10 laps in quarantine. But it appears that we are both free from too much exercise, as we both now managed to spot leopard. And I'm so thankful that we did. What a lovely day. Well, we are completely surrounded by elephant. Nowhere to go. All we can do is sit and enjoy. Look at the texture in that skin. The sunlight really brings it out. Those old wrinkles, even though it's a youngster, it already looks old and wrinkly. The books will tell you that all those wrinkles in the skin assist to make a greater surface area that assists in dispersing their heat generated by those massive bodies. Gizmo, you've asked, does it hurt my ears when they trumpet so close to me? And no, it doesn't. It's more of an exciting sound. It's not as terribly loud as you would think. It's more reverberating. Kind of feel it in your chest. They've got a very low frequency. Even in their trumpeting, you can almost feel the bass in it. So no, it doesn't hurt my ears. It's more exhilarating when you're that close to a trumpeting elephant. Unless, of course, you are on a walking safari and it's a huge female with a baby that is trumpeting at you out of anger, then it would hurt my ears and potentially a lot more if she decides to follow through. But luckily, we can generally avoid those situations. Look at this one's tusk here. If you zoom in just a bit, it almost looks like it's got a crack in it. Oh, it does. Oh, it's chipped. It's interesting. They use those tusks for so many reasons, whether feeding or occasional self-defense in a fight. And those tusks take a beating. It's not uncommon to see a broken tusk. Just had another vehicle join us in sighting here if you're hearing other people. Lisa, you've asked, is the bump on their backs their spine? And that is. If you have a look there, it's a very prominent spine. It's a very good observation. A large spine to hold in place that huge bone structure. And as they get older, it becomes more and more obvious. The spine protrudes as the rest of the body almost sinks down. In a very old elephant, it's often a telltale sign of age. That spine protrudes very heavily and the flanks almost dip in. It's like they start to deflate. What an absolutely lovely elephant encounter. They've really been great to be sitting with and spend time with. They've really shown us the beauty of their movements.
Tandy's gone in front of the car, I'm afraid. Can't move. We've got a car in front of us. Is she gone that way? Okay. Thank you. Okay, that vehicle's moving, so we have to wait, I'm afraid. There should really only be one vehicle with this engine on, and I'll sit down with the cat like this. I'm sorry, Londeka, this may take a little bit of time. I can't see her, I've got no idea where she is. Here you go. Okay, so while I try and navigate and find Dundee, I'm going to send you guys back across to David.
Sorry, we can't go forward. Just repositioned here to get another look at these elephants. All kind of bunched together here. Curious little youngster with its tusk just starting to poke out there. I could spend all day with elephants. They are always busy, always doing something. Even when they sleep, they flap their ears. It's always fun to try and decipher the social dynamics in a group. They seem to display a lot of emotion and even have little rivalries and disputes amongst each other. It's always comical to watch when a youngster perhaps gets a fright and trumpets an alarm, and then Mom and all the others come rushing to see what was the cause. Not much worry this morning, just very peaceful and relaxed elephant. Veronica, you asked what do elephants do if they lose a tusk? And the quick answer is nothing really changes, they just carry on. Depends on where it's snapped off. If it's at the tip or only a portion of the tusk, they'll still be able to use it. And it'll always keep growing for the rest of their lives. Occasionally it'll break off at the root, in which case it may not regrow. But hopefully, if it does lose a tusk, it's only the one. But even in elephants that are completely tuskless, I haven't really noticed much of a change. They make do just fine. Of course, it's not so easy to dig into the bark of a tree or to strip bark, as they like to do by using their tusk and putting the branch over their tusk as they pull with their trunk, but they appear to make do just fine, even the completely tuskless elephants. But what I have often wondered, Veronica, is how painful it is when they lose a tusk. There is a root that runs quite far down the tusk, so I can imagine it would be very similar to us losing a tooth, which I know is not very pleasant. Some more fertilizing of the ground. Didn't even pause to stop eating, stuffing its face full of grass as the rest comes out the back. Like I said earlier, huge bodies to feed. They gotta keep eating. Chrissy, you've asked, will elephants evolve to drink through their tusks like a straw? No, they won't. I don't believe so. I think the way they drink is the way they were meant to drink. It is rather interesting. Sometimes I also wonder why they don't just drink through their trunks, but it's not the way they are. Maybe it doesn't feel so comfortable when they drink through their trunks, like the feeling we get when we snort water up our nose. I have no idea. This female has found a very tasty tree. It's one of the tastiest trees. Difficult for you to see now, but she's been munching on a buffalo thorn, one of the most nutritious trees out here. It's interesting how they can really smell out and know exactly which tree is going to be most nutritious. They seem to pick and choose what they want to eat. And she is really going at it, breaking that buffalo thorn. If you zoom in there, Tio, you might even see on the right. Really going at it. These trees take quite a hammering, and it's amazing to watch how she's stuffing that in her mouth. That is a very pokey tree. It's got a hook thorn and a straight thorn, and I can't think of anything worse than having to chew on it. Just goes to show how tough those mouths are. Then Pat, you've asked, are elephants related to mammoths? And I honestly have no idea. I can't answer that question. I suppose they are. Maybe they do share some similarities, but as far as actual relation, I wouldn't be able to say. She's really stretching there to get to the top of that tree, to the tastiest leaves. As I was saying, that is one of the tastiest trees you can get out in the bush. It's actually probably the reason why it's got such hectic thorns, to protect it from over-browsing. If it had no thorns, animals would just go to town on it and finish the tree in one sitting. But because of the thorns, perhaps they have to be a bit more careful as they feed, which slows the process down and prevents the tree from being completely smashed in one feeding. Even humans often eat those leaves. I've eaten many of them when spending time out in the bush. Extremely nutritious, very high in vitamin C. They say a higher vitamin C content than even oranges or rose petals. I'm not sure about that, but it does taste pretty good. What an absolute privilege to spend such lovely time with this family of elephant.
What was that? It's very frustrating.
This is just getting better and better. They keep surrounding us, forcing us to stay here. And I'll be much obliged. Can't think of many better places to be than just chilling with the elephants. Why, hello. Give Tio a nice walk past there. Here comes the youngster. The youngster's a bit more cautious, took a bit of a wider berth. Perhaps not so used to other vehicles. Very, very cool. I'm just gonna ease forward here. I want to show you this buffalo horn that we were talking about. And you can understand. So it's so amazing how they just shove these things in their mouths. Try and get a branch here. without stabbing myself. Look at the thorns on this little twig. They are very sharp and very tough. You turn it there, but you can see the hook and the straight. Turn it a bit into the sun so you can see it a bit better. And as you saw earlier, that female elephant was literally just shoving this stuff into her mouth without regard. Chewing and chewing. So you can imagine how tough the tongue must be to withstand that. Called a buffalo thorn. And it's interesting. Take that away. The buffalo thorn gets its name, apparently, from the fact that buffalo, when cornered by a lion, will often reverse into a buffalo thorn thicket, because they know that lion won't even want to go through these thorns. That's how tough these thorns are. So the lion won't want to attack from behind because they can't get through the buffalo thorn, allowing the buffalo to only have to worry about defending the front with its horns. Apparently that's where the name buffalo thorn comes from. And of course our friend the fork-tailed drongo, always ready and waiting to swoop up an insect that's rustled up by those elephants. I bet if we watch it for long enough we'll see it swooped up. There we go. Swoops down, catches something. It's out of season, but seeing as we are right next to this buffalo thorn, I think I'm actually gonna pick my own salad. I say out of season, these leaves are gonna be all tough and leathery. Well, we'll try one. Growing up, we used to munch these things all the time. It just takes a lot of effort. You have to eat quite a bit to get full. Speaking of eating, Brett, you've asked, why do elephants sometimes eat leaves, sometimes eat grass? Well, it depends very much on the season. So, as you can see now, these leaves are still green. And obviously the green is tastier, but the grass is dry. So when you think about it, it depends very much on what's available at the time. In the rainy season, after the rain has fallen, then the grass is immediately green, and it's like a feeding frenzy. You can see elephants are just so stoked to have this fresh grass, and they predominantly feed on grass, the vast majority of their diet. But when the season goes on and the winter sets in, then you see them start focusing much more on the leaves, which I'm tasting now. And if you watch them now, also focusing on the leaves. So bread very much depends on the season, what's available to eat. And what you'll also see, you've noticed them eating a lot of leaves now in the winter, is they'll also be more prone to maybe push over a tree and get to the roots of the tree, where the majority of the nutrients are stored in the dry season. And this elephant has found a small little hidden buffalo thorn, the same tree we were just munching on now. Nice and thin and hidden. It's found a little morsel on the top that it's going to have. Hopefully it doesn't completely destroy the tree. Well, it was actually quite nice of it. Just pulled down one branch instead of snapping the tiny stem. A delicious snack. But as you saw earlier, crazy thorns. It's funny, I've had a few times in my life had to climb trees, especially when growing up. When you walk into something like a buffalo, and you have to get out of the way, and it always seems that the tree that's nearest is a buffalo thorn, which is probably the worst tree to have to climb, but when you got to get out of the way, you get out of the way.
WildEarth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the WildEarth family.
Okay, take 12. Let's try this again. Sorry about that, guys. And as I was saying, we've got 2 of the meerkats up, and there is going to be one missing. We know this was a group that suffered that attack by the African wildcat yesterday. But these things happen. They are meerkats. They are susceptible to predation by any number of things out here. And, you know, they've evolved with these kind of threats. So I think we shouldn't beat ourselves up too much about it. I am very, very pleased that it was none of the pups. I was actually quite surprised that it was none of the pups. And I guess that's also part of that thing is, you know, you've got this very, very strong social group, and the whole thing is to, you know, get offspring and raise them to adulthood. And sometimes that means your meerkats are exposed to dangers. You know, these sentries that are sitting out in the open. That was a sub-adult here, and I was going on the size of the teeth on that animal, so it was definitely not one of the adults. So it's often your sub-adults that are the ones kind of on the fringe of the group and doing sentry duty. So it just could be that meerkat did exactly what it was designed to do, you know, alerted the group. But the other side of it is that those wildcats are incredibly good at camouflaging themselves, and we've been talking about this a lot over the past couple of weeks, where they utilize these burrows and they can lie flat as a pancake. A cinnamon pancake. No, but they'll lie flat as a pancake at these burrow entrances. And, you know, it could be a meerkat that they've seen the wildcat, they go down, and then that cat will just lie there and lie there and lie. It could be hours on end. The cat knows those meerkats are in there, and eventually the meerkats will be like, is there anything going? Woof, and then they suddenly gone, you know. So these things do happen, and I'm just glad, in a way, that we were that close to the action when it did take place. And that the pups are safe, you know, and the alpha, you know, she's still around. So this group is far from not being a group of meerkats anymore. You know, when it gets whittled down to like 1 or 2, then you could say, all right, well, I think now they're in dire straits. At the moment, this is perfectly normal for any meerkat colony on Tswalu. Also, when we dropped our feed earlier, I was just chatting on a slightly different topic. We were talking about passenger pigeons and springbuck. And, you know, with passenger pigeons, you know, they got down to about 20,000 and the population kept crashing. And it turns out they actually need critical numbers in these flocks in order for them to survive and okay, we've got some interesting action going on here. There's pups coming out on the left. These animals are very, very nervous. You see that? They're bobbing up and down. They're bobbing up and down like that. Look at this. They're very, very nervous. And this is all because of that incident yesterday. It's not that they're nervous that they think there's something, but they're still very aware. It's all fresh in their mind what happened yesterday. So they're just like staring now. But there's something going on here. Because there's 4, 5, 6. There's 6 meerkats here. You agree? Or am I just count Davy? Am I counting wrong? I can count to 6. I hope. Okay, if there's 6 meerkats here, so we got this meerkat sitting out on the far right. So we don't have to go to it, but there's a meerkat sitting on the far right that is super relaxed. Then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I'm completely flawed now, because Carl confirmed that it was one of this group that was taken, and in this group we know there were 6 meerkats and 3 pups. We have, as we're standing here, we have 6 big meerkats. It's a miracle! Check out, they've all got their heads there, Davy. Okay, honestly, guys, I have no idea what's happening here. As a professional guide, I have no idea what's happening. That won't be the first time. So it's interesting, but no, this is really, really interesting now, because like I said, Carl confirmed that one of this group was taken yesterday. So, but now there's 5. But what they're watching this little one here on the right, but this one on the right is so relaxed. So it has to be an animal that is habituated, that's well accustomed to us and the other meerkats. If this was a meerkat from outside, these little guys would have been chasing it already by now. So anyway, the point of the story here is there is no point to the story. We just have to actually spend a bit of time with these guys and try to figure out what on earth is going on. It may be, remember the Khosa group, that small group that we were following? There could be an individual that's broken away from that group and trying to join up with these ones. I don't know. And that would account for having 5 here in front of the frame here, and then another one out here to the right. So anyway, let's see what's going on over here. Or 6 here and 1 there, sorry. No, 5 and if one was Rockstars, if one was, and we're assuming it was, this other one would have to be another meerkat that's trying to join up with this group. But I would be very surprised if that's the case in terms of how tolerant this alpha female is with these others when they've got these small pups of an intruding meerkat in the area. I'd be very surprised. Or maybe they're just upset with that one. Maybe that's one that was supposed to have been on duty when the wildcat struck. Angie's asked a very good question there as well. Like, the question is, would the wildcat come back? Absolutely. That wildcat, it's like, if it's not going to like, oh, I've eaten a meerkat today, so now I'm not going to have another one for the rest of the year kind of thing. No. That wildcat, you can bet your bottom dollar, will be somewhere in the area. We actually took a very slow drive earlier looking for it. Okay. Oh, there's something. Look at the scent marking. Look at this behavior here. Intense scent marking by this one over here. The one on the left-hand side of the screen that's digging now. Look, you see that anal pasting? This group is very upset and very disjointed. So there's 5 there. That might be an outside meerkat, because they keep looking at it. But that one is super relaxed. So anyway, we don't know what went on here. So I'm going to guess, I think Carl was 100% right. I think one of the rock stars was taken. We had ample evidence that there was a meerkat eaten. We found the head. We saw the cat running off with it. This is probably a meerkat that's now trying to join this group. But I'm guessing if it's this relaxed, because it's just sitting while we're here, I'm guessing it's probably going to be one of the ones from that Khosa group, which then begs the question, well, what happened to that Khosa group? If these meerkats got whacked by an African wildcat, and they back at this burrow system, the far burrow system, but suddenly now there's a very relaxed one that's joined. These relaxed ones are few and far between. We've got 3 very habituated groups, and the one is from here, it's about 4 kilometers away, so definitely not one of those. The closest one is the group called the Horses that we were following initially, and in a straight line from where we saw that African wildcat with a meerkat yesterday, that's only about 300 meters from there. So I'm guessing maybe something went on there, but I think the only way we're going to solve this is actually just to spend time with this little group and see what happens going ahead. Ooh, geesh, butterfly, you've asked a difficult question there. The question is, do they mourn the meerkat that's been lost or taken? Okay, so there's a lot of good examples where animals have a very clear awareness of death. What it means to them, that would be our interpretation. And we know elephants is like one of the really, really, really good examples. They'll pass elephant carcasses, sometimes that are years old, and they'll pick up the bones, move them around, place them down very gently. But it's not just with elephants. There are so many records of elephants actually covering bodies of dead animals with branches, including humans that elephants have actually killed, where they'll actually pile branches over them like it. What on earth is going on? So elephants are an animal that has a very, very distinct, they're very conscious about death, but what that means, I don't know. We were looking at kudu down at the Warthog the other day, where the spotted hyenas killed that big kudu bull, and while we were down there, we were waiting for one of the live feeds to come through. A herd of kudu bulls came down. They stood maybe 10 yards from that dead kudu, kind of like looked at it, and then just carried on drinking water. It's like, oh, well, that's George, drink, and then it just moved off again. So it was almost like there was like no, oh, it's another object, and drink and go. So there are certainly different levels of consciousness and awareness of death. But I'm always very, very concerned in terms of, or trying to anthropomorphize it and project what we feel about things like that onto animals and say, well, oh, these meerkats must be absolutely heartbroken. For all we know, they couldn't care less. It's just like, all right, and we carry on, you know. I don't know the answer to that.
Believe it or not, we still have some clinger honours. Do not think that's a word at all. But we're at the site, we're bypassing the site where the buffalo carcass was. Unfortunately, Miss Tandy Cat flew into Torchwood. We were very close to the eastern boundary anyway, and she got up and went straight to Torchwood with that piece of flesh in her mouth. I imagine she's taken it back for the cub. So unfortunately we cannot traverse Torchwood. So we're heading to the hyena den, but en route we stopped at the buffalo carcass. Well, actually, it's not even a carcass anymore. It's a skull, and there's one hooded vulture and one whiteback. We're now looking at the whiteback, which are normally the most numerous, but this one is completely on its own, and I'm not sure what they're hoping for. The buffalo is not going to regrow, I'm afraid, but they're here. They were here yesterday as well. Buddy Weiser, I've not heard your name in a very long time. Hi. You're asking, would vultures feed on a leopard carcass in a tree? Not when the leopard's there. Absolutely not. But what I've noticed about vultures is because they are highly visual, they do tend to scan from very high up. They've got great eyesight. So when a leopard does hang its kill in the tree, what you've got to remember is probably not very visible from the air. They're sort of aerial scavengers. So when they look down upon a tree, they're only going to really see the tree, and the kill will be very much sort of hidden in the branches, in the leaves. If it's obvious, then yes, a vulture would swoop down and try and see what it can get. But normally, I've personally never seen a vulture feeding on a kill in the tree, and it's for that exact reason. They're good at spotting things from the air, but they're not good at necessarily spotting things in trees. Now, not all sources agree with that, but some sources say that vultures can actually see a 6 centimetre object, I'm not sure what that is in inches, forgive me, from 1 kilometre up in the sky. So they can see very small objects from far away, but under the cover of a tree. I don't always think that's possible, but good question, Buddy Weiser. Vultures' eyes are incredible. They actually have 2 lenses. So one lens allows them to see the broad landscape in front of them, almost like a fisheye lens for any photographers out there. Fisheye lens sort of bend They bend the environment, so it makes everything look wider. That's fantastic for underwater photography, hence the name fisheye. And the second lens magnifies. So their eyes are highly specialized, or highly visual animals. And their eyes are very large relative to the size of their skull. So that sort of adds on what I'm saying, that this shows that they're very, very visual. But I've never seen them on a kill in a tree. But they're scavengers, and as with all scavengers, they're opportunistic. Oh, a whiteback and a hooded in the same tree. Normally they tend to stay separated. Cole, I'm actually not sure who has the better eyesight out of vultures or eagles. I'm afraid I know that vultures have very, very keen eyesight, and so do most birds of prey. Most raptors are highly visual. Whether it's diurnally or nocturnally, they're all highly visual. But as for who has the better eyesight, I'm sorry, Cole, I do not know the answer to that question. But I'm really not sure what this pair are waiting on. They could be waiting to ride the thermals, but they've been here quite a few days now. The smell is incredible from this site. We may move on. It's very bad. The buffalo skull is just behind us, and I would quite like to check on the hyena den. Now that Tandy's left, I want to see if there's any action at the den. So I'm going to bumble on forward, and fingers crossed there's some hyenas.
We've just found something very interesting. This is an old buffalo skull just lying here in the grass. We picked it up and put it on the bonnet here, or the hood. And what I love about these skulls is they've got such a story to tell. If you look at the texture in them, this was an old buffalo bull who survived probably many summers and winters, perhaps a few droughts, perhaps a few poaching incidents or attempted poaching, fires. No doubt a few lion attacks before he eventually met his end. You can see tips of his horns are nice and worn down here. So many stories to tell. Of course, the story doesn't end there. I'm sure between the lion and the hyena and all the scavengers and the vultures, his body was all used up, and now even the skull and the horns are being eaten. That's what these little funny looking worm things are on the horns. Those belong to a horn borer moth. And they like to feed on keratin, which is found in the horns, even hooves of animals. You'll pretty much always find it on any old skulls or hooves out here. And it's a moth that lays an egg on the horn. And this protruding worm is actually excrement. It's dung mixed with a bit of silk. And that is what houses the little pupa. It's actually quite interesting. I'm actually seeing now, I don't know if you can zoom in on that tear. Looks like a little exoskeleton. Can you see that? That little yellow thing is actually the exoskeleton when the little horn borer moth pupates. And that's all that's left behind. So, very interesting. Looks like the elephants are still here. Every time I think we've moved away from them, they just seem to surround us again. The elephant right over there. Very, very cool. What a lovely morning.
So I'm thinking more and more what's happened here is one of these rock stars was taken, and that one far out to the left is a intruding meerkat coming into the group here, or trying to come into the group. Hence all that anal pasting that one was doing earlier. But that now I'm really interested as to where that meerkat comes from and which colony it's from. I'm going to guess it's probably from the Khosa group. There you can see him sitting out there in the far left. This is so fascinating. Just shows you how many disruptions or things can take place in such a short space of time. And this group is doing absolutely perfectly. Suddenly one of their members is taken, they get back to the burrow, there's a new meerkat there. He's going to start anal placing again. These ones over here, they're going to start actually moving across. There we go, onto them here. Watch this, watch this. Yeah, look at this, look at this. Very, very alert. A lot of scent marking going on over here. They're watching that one very, very, very intently. And you see, yes, they are so nervous this morning. Oh, well, understandable, I guess. Okay, look. They're going to chase him. They're chasing him. Okay, so that's confirmed it. So one of the rock stars was taken. That is a intruding meerkat into the area. And that's and that's all we needed to know. And that's what it took. He's just sitting a little bit and figuring it out, and now we figured it out. So that one is definitely, I would go out happily and say, okay, that one's probably from the Khosa group, and that's why it's so relaxed, because it is from one of our habituated groups. But just look at these meerkats taking off after. They're definitely like, okay, we're on this guy, we're not going to let you come any closer now. And now he's just moving further and further away. James has asked an interesting question there in terms of the ecology of these animals, and the question is, would this group relocate after the wildcat incident? It's possible, but I don't think so. That wildcat caught them while they were out foraging. So that was at one of their bolt holes, and luckily there was a bolt hole, although I guess the irony of it is you were caught at your bolt hole. It's kind of like, well, what's the point? Well, put it this way, it's better than being caught out in the open. At least it gave you a chance of getting away, as opposed to having no chance of getting away. So it was caught while they were out foraging at one of the bolt holes, and from this burrow system, that's about 400 meters due east of us. So there's not necessarily any immediate threat to these meerkats at this burrow system. And I think for now that they know that there is the threat to that cat in the area, they're probably going to just hunker down here for a little while.
And we've just managed to find this leopard that one of the tracking vehicles set out for this morning, and it's a young male who we have been seeing quite regularly in the last couple of months. So he is on this beautiful big termite mound, and he's looking down towards some clearings, and there's a nice big herd of impala there. And so what might have happened is the mother might have left him and his sister on the spot, and she could have gone off to try her luck with that herd of impala that's not too far away. So he keeps looking in that direction every now and again. His sister, we haven't seen yet, but apparently he is here. And she might have also just slipped down and found some shady spots to go and have a nice little rest for the day. But he is in such a gorgeous spot on top of this termite mound. Nice eye-level shots of him with the beautiful morning sun on his face. So he doesn't seem to be wanting to move around too much. And I'm sure he's just waiting for his mother to return to him. Hopefully with some good news and some food. And so this is one of the young cubs of the Shitsalala female. So this is the young male. And see, I think that might be where the sister is, because that's the first time he's taken his gaze off of where those impalas were, and he's almost looking down the other side of this termite mountain. So they could really, that sister might be just somewhere here, but if she's decided to rest in the shade in the long grass, it'll be very challenging for us to see her. But quite a pretty area with those big tall trees in the background and that termite mound in the foreground. And all all of those trees, barring one, are a tree called a terminalia, or a silver cluster leaf. Just see how big that termite mound is now. And so after we had those tracks of that female who looked like she was heading back in the direction of that carcass, we went and waited for a while, and we didn't see anything. And so it might be a better option for us to return there a little bit later on in the evening. But I'm glad at least we got to show you one of the leopards of Ngala this morning. And just look at how much wind there is this morning. Look at that grass. And so that grass moving around will help that leopard in many ways, because it creates these, almost like these optical illusions against the black spots of the leopard's coat. And so when the wind is blowing from side to side like this, then those spots just help break the outline of that leopard. It makes it very difficult for those impalas to be able to spot a leopard lying in the grass like this. And so an experienced female like his mother would know that, and she would choose the windiest sections and the windiest periods to move around in, because that's better chance of her scent getting taken away, and then also with that grass moving. So John Snow, this male, will more than likely start hunting. He's probably in the process of learning hunting, so he might be going after small things like little mongooses or little franklins, just things that are sparking his interest. And he'll only really start to properly hunt when he becomes independent. And so that will be probably somewhere around between 2 to 3 years. And I mean, when he's by himself, he'll try and hunt the bigger things, like that herd of impala that we've just seen, or potentially something smaller like grey duikers or steenbok, or something even smaller than that. And at the moment, he's just a little over a year old now, and so he doesn't have the skill or the strength. But that mother will, at this age, be teaching him more and more. And so it's a long process for them to develop their skills, but from this age, he's going to start trying.
Welcome to the real and live buffalo in the flesh. We were chatting about the buffalo thorn tree, we were chatting about the buffalo skull, and then around the corner we happened to actually find a herd of buffalo. Just pulled up here, so still trying to see how many there are here. Seems like quite a decent amount. Some old bulls, some cows. Haven't seen any calves yet, but I'm sure there might be a youngster around. And of course, where you find buffalo, you find oxpecker. There's the oxpecker on the back of that buffalo. Always looking for a meal, generally ticks and parasites that they'll pick off the buffalo's skin. Interestingly, I've seen a couple of these oxpeckers are actually yellow-billed oxpeckers, which are the rarer of the two. A red-billed oxpecker is far more common. It looks like a juvenile on the neck there, with a darker face, that oxpecker, but going at it, really getting those ticks. Interestingly, they actually are looking for blood. You'll often find them pecking away at a wound. They eat the ticks because they contain blood, but if they can get blood itself, that's first prize. And there's a younger buffalo up ahead, next to that large bull. Quite a good sized herd here. A very docile looking animal. People often mistake them for cows. Or people mistake that they act like cows. They do kind of have a docile look to them. Butterfly, you say, such handsome faces. I don't know if it's handsome, because I know what it can be, and they can very quickly become a terrifying creature. An angry old buffalo bull is one of the scariest animals you get out here, if not the scariest that you find on foot. Afraid of nothing.
So there's still a lot of scent marking going on here. That it looks like a little male. That other one, that intruder, has just moved off about 10 yards to the left-hand side over there. And these others are just really watching him very, very, very intently.
WildEarth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our day.
But wow, there must have been things at play late yesterday afternoon with that wildcat and another group of meerkats as well. It just created such a... It really shook things up in these little groups. So, and ironically, that was the first time this rockstar group had moved eastwards over the past weeks, maybe 7 weeks. It was the first time that they'd actually gone east. And the first time that they go east, they get nailed by something. It's like, that's why they say, go west, young man. There's a reason for that. It would be nice if they let that other one in. It would be really cool, because then they're like back up to full strength. And you must think, if you're a meerkat out there on your own, you've got to do all your own watching out for predators. You've got your own foraging. You've got to maintain your own bolt holes, find your own burrow systems to sleep in every night. That's probably not where you want to be if you're a social animal. It's amazing. So I'll be very interested in when they do move off foraging, which direction they go, because they ain't going to go back to where the wildcat was. That is for certain. I think they know. But there was a question earlier about, would this cat come back to this burrow and that? So remember I said that they were out foraging when they got hit. So number one, they wouldn't go down there, but also that a meerkat like the size that you're seeing here is a fantastically good meal for an African wildcat. So that cat's probably not going to be... He's probably lying belly up in the sun somewhere right now, or curled up in a ball, as cats do, and just trying to digest what he's eaten. I'm just trying to digest what I just read. And yeah, so I don't think there's going to be any huge threat to these little guys from that wildcat just yet. That being said, those of you who have cats at home will know only too well that often that hunting instinct can get triggered by any kind of movement in that. So were these guys to, by accident or perchance, to amble past that wildcat and they didn't know he was there, even if he was full, he would still take a chance of trying to catch one. But he wouldn't be actively hunting, which is a good thing. And remember, at this time of the year, it's probably I would guess, their point of lowest predation on them. In terms of, in the summer months, you've got all these reptiles cruising around, also very happily looking for a meerkat to snaffle. Things like Cape cobras, monitor lizards, African rock pythons. You know, these things would go down burrows and take a meerkat in a heartbeat. But they're all dormant now. There's very, very, very little, if any, snake activity or monitor lizard activity around now. So that's one like big level of threat that's gone for the. But again, I reckon in where are we? August. Oh, it's 1st of August. Happy August, everyone. August, September. So I'd say mid-September things are going to start hotting up, and yeah, then that predation is going to start picking up again. But by that stage, these pups are going to be super aware, super alert. Polar Bear has asked, will the wildcat be checking these bolt holes for meerkats? Totally. You know, again, cats hunt by sight, primarily by sight, but their sense of smell is good. It's nothing like a dog sense of smell. You can't even put a dog and a cat in the same box when it comes to sense of smell. Dogs are just like, there's a reason you don't have cats walking around sniffing bags at airports. But these African wildcats, yeah, they'll be going around. They've got very, very good sense of smell, and as they're moving through the environment, they'll be checking these other points of cover that meerkats could be using, and they'll just be cruising around. Okay, is anyone in here? Is anyone in there? But their sense that they're really, really using is their eyesight. And because they're so cryptic, these cats, and they're small, they're not big, it's like a long-legged house cat basically, and they're incredibly well camouflaged. So they'll sit tucked into bush and they'll just observe these different burrow systems. And you know, as well as these meerkats know their environment, you can I promise you, these meerkats know that African wildcat very well. They know him by sight. They know who he is or she, you know, male or female. They know exactly who that wildcat is, where he goes normally, you know, what his movements are. But that wildcat will know and understand this meerkat group as well. These are long-standing enemies, I'm sure. And you know what that means is that cat will know where all the burrow systems are. And you know, I'm hungry, let me go check out this burrow system. Let me go check out that one. Oh wait, there's a bolt hole. Let me go past that and swing in there while I'm here. So absolutely, definitely, polar bear, they will be checking those bolt holes.
From meerkats to mongoose. We came to check on the hyena den and nobody is home once again. That's twice I've been this morning. And this den, which is not too far away from their closest relatives, the hyenas, is active. Now, this is an entire business going on with lots of pups. I think there's youngsters here. And they're probably just waking up. They're very lazy. I love it. And dwarf mongoose are generally obligatory cooperative breeders, which means they really cannot raise pups successfully in unaided pairs. So what that means is you've got the alpha pair at the top, the alpha female, the alpha male, and they are the breeders. Everyone else in the group, the family group or the business, aids that breeding pair, that aids that reproductive effort. And if they didn't have that assistance, then they're not able to raise pups. Everybody plays a part. Even if it's not your offspring, you're still related. So you're reproducing by proxy, I guess. So it still benefits you to invest and look after those pups, even if you didn't give birth to them. going to sneeze, I apologise. Bless me. I've been sneezing all morning, don't quite know what it is. Now, the alpha female, of course, as I mentioned, mates with the alpha male, but there's lots of records of the alpha female also mating with the next sort of dominant male, who would be the beta male, if you like. There's definitely records of that. Whereas all the other females that are not the alpha female can mate with anyone. Andrew, there's not a matriarch. It's not a matriarchal society like hyenas. This is more, the sort of social structure of dwarf mongoose is very similar, if you like, to wild dogs. More similar to wild dogs in the respect that there's an alpha pair. So it's not the female that's in charge. It's not a matriarchal society. It's the alpha pair that's in charge. And everyone else supports that breeding effort of the pair, the most dominant pair. But I do believe subordinate mongoose can actually also mate and give birth. They can, it is possible. And it's normally through sort of behavioural oppression that the others don't mate and they support the efforts of the breeding pair, the alpha pair. It's a very tight little unit. And that is one of the reasons why they're so successful. So I think we're going to head to quarantine now for the last part of the drive and see if we can find anything exciting going on there.
So an animal that doesn't have a very tight family is this Ngala bull, who's come down to drink at Ndlovu Dam. And our Ngala bulls are often either in small groups of other males or solitary, just like this one is. You can see he's got a broken horn, so maybe he's been fighting with other males and that's why he's all alone for the moment. But having a nice big drink of water at the dam whilst it's quiet. They are solitary animals for the most part, so you won't usually find them with lots of other animals around. And very shy and very skittish as well. See how those ears are just moving back and forth as it listens to whatever might be moving around. We had reports of a lioness moving into this area. It could be that young lone female that we've been seeing recently, but we haven't had a visual yet. They said that she might be heading towards this dam, so that's why we've been sticking around this area in the hopes that she might pop out. But we know she's still quite shy during the daytime, so she might only come and drink later. Oh, what have you heard? What's going on? Naturally shy animals by nature. See how dainty they are. Very colourful, very beautiful antelope. I think they're probably the most beautiful antelope that we have in southern Africa, to be honest. And, oh, and very agile. Goodbye, Mr. Ngala. Colmore is asking if there are any crocodiles in this dam. We haven't seen any. There's been no confirmed reports of any crocodiles. As you can see, the waterhole is not so big at the moment. It's shrunk quite a lot during the winter dry months. But that's not to say that there couldn't be. There's a very famous story of a game ranger who went to swim in a waterhole not unlike this one, when he thought there was only one crocodile that he could see. And when he was in the water, it actually caught him by the arm, and he ended up not having an arm. He was armless. Oh, goodness. One has to make that joke once in a while. So, yeah, I wouldn't trust there's no crocodile, but we haven't seen one. So for now, we'll assume there isn't.
This male leopard has now gone flat and he is enjoying this winter's morning sun. We did hear Impala's alarm calling a little bit earlier on, which he actually didn't react to, surprisingly. The calls went for about a minute or so and then they stopped. And so that female, if that was what was disturbing those impalas was probably not successful. So we were thinking of hanging around here just to see if she decided to return, but we haven't seen any sign of her yet. And this is exactly what these leopards will do. I mean, at this age, they've got their wits about them, but they are still vulnerable to other predators. And so sitting down in one spot like this and using that beautiful camouflage of theirs to practically disappear and wait for the mother is exactly what leopards at this age will be doing. And so he will only really start wandering off if there's something interesting. If there's like a mongoose rustling through the grass, or if there's a bird. But he doesn't seem like he's interested in anything this morning.
So the meerkats are moving out foraging now, and as we suspected, completely different direction to which they went yesterday, or certainly to where they ended up yesterday, so which is a good thing. But there's not only one wildcat on Tswalu, and we don't know where that wildcat is either. So we can say, oh well, yeah, they're not going to the east because that's where the wildcat was. Well, they could bump into one down here. I'm hoping they don't. I'm not saying I want them to bump into a wildcat. I'm just putting it out there that that's the world that these little guys live in. It is fraught with dangers of all different kinds, and yet it is so exciting. And I'm not talking about from their perspective. It's probably, and I don't think they worry about. They probably don't lose sleep over it. It's just what they do. It's what we call the ecology of fear. And you can look that up. It's quite interesting. I can chat about it at some other stage. That whole ecology of fear is really, really interesting. Where animals will go, what they'll do, how long they'll spend doing something in the face of fear or absence of fear. And there's a whole wolves in Yellowstone scenario, the reintroduction of wolves in Yellowstone, the effect it had on elk populations, and recovery of systems there. That's a well-known thing, and you can look that up. But that ecology of fear is really key in driving ecological processes. So these guys are heading off for the day, so I'm really glad we got them, and I'm really pleased that we actually figured out what was going on with that other individual. For a moment I thought, geez, I believe in reincarnation now, because my goodness. I was like, oh no, there'll be 5, one's missing, and suddenly it's like 6. I even looked at my hand. Do I have 6 fingers, or have I been counting wrong all this time? And I realized, no, I don't. I've actually got 5 fingers on each hand. And so my counting was fine, and there were 6 there, but one was definitely a free-range meerkat, well, a freelance meerkat trying to get into this group from outside. So I'm really glad that we stuck with him this morning so we could figure that one out. I hope they have a successful day foraging, and I hope that they all come back safely this afternoon. Dave, who's 12 years old, has asked a really, really fun question there, and a good question. The question is, are snakes like Cape Cobras a threat to baby meerkats? Absolutely, they are definitely a threat to the baby meerkats. Cape Cobras in the summer months when it's really warm, in fact, and we're not far away from that now. You can feel the temperatures already rising very, very rapidly. I'm actually about to start taking layers off at a point. These snakes that you're talking about, Dave, these Cape Cobras, they are one of the biggest threats to little meerkat pups. They will go down burrows, they'll catch them down these holes. So yes, and they're just one of many species of snakes that will catch these meerkats.
Hello everyone, and welcome back. We have been on quite a lion search this morning with unfortunately no luck, but we have come across some very relaxed warthogs. Now often when you see warthogs, that tend to run away and are usually a little bit nervous of the vehicles, but this particular little family doesn't seem to be at all. So it's quite nice to actually use this opportunity to be able to show you them. Now this is 2 adult females, the bigger ones, and then the 2 in the middle are their little piglets. And what's nice about the warthogs is that they're always born at the same time. They're what we call seasonal breeders. So around December or so is normally when they are born, even November. So that makes these ones probably about 8 months old, 7 or 8 months old. These little warthogs. They actually grow really, really quickly. I mean, they're almost the same height as the mothers. Now they could have each had probably 4 or so piglets. But obviously with young piglets like that, there are so many threats towards them, like eagles. At that small age, even snakes like pythons, leopard, lion, even cheetah when they're small like that. So they've got lots of threats. So maybe this is just the last 2 piglets that are left. If you look at that piglet closest to us, see how it's down on its knee. It's got up. They go down onto their front knees when they're eating, just to get themselves right down to the ground level. Now they're just showing us their bums. I love that little wiry mane of hair on the top of their head and down their neck and even onto their back. Hi Neva. No, there won't be a matriarch. It'll just be 2 mothers, and then between them they're 2 youngsters. I don't know which one comes from which mother, but no, there's no dominance between them or anything like that. There they go, all the way behind the trees now. They actually might come out in this gap just over here. Let me move forward quickly. Let's see if they pop out for us. No, I think they're going to go behind the trees there. Oh well, no worries. We're going to carry on driving then.
We have a bit of a roadblock to try and get to quarantine. I think this is the foal, the young one. The rest of the herd are on either side. And it's been doing roly-polies back and forwards, scratching that back. Oh, it's been a lot of fun. But now we're just deciding to, well, not do very much. And I'm not going to make any jokes about a zebra crossing. I'm not going to do that to you all. Too painful. Yet still entertaining every single time. But plain zebra, they really only have 1 foal. Their gestation period is quite long, longer than humans. 12 months, 1 year. And a mother will only give birth to 1 foal. Oh. That wasn't very elegant. Oh, yes, we did it. And you rolled on top of your foal. You did it. Well done. It reminded me of my very overweight beagle trying to do a roly-poly. But we got there. Oh, it's very sweet. You can see the size difference now that the youngster is standing up. It's got quite a bit to go. Zebras come in, up to 350 kilograms. That's quite heavy. It must be around 700 pounds. There are give or take. So this little foal is going to fill out nicely. They're very, very precocial when they're born. They can actually stand within 10 minutes after birth, which is incredible. Walking within 20 and running within the hour. You're better than the adult. Yes. Well done. It's like they're shown off for the camera. But if you do think about it, rolling on the sand like that must feel really good on their skin. Exfoliation. Okay, we're going to try and get past these zebras and see if there is anything waiting for us on quarantine.
Well, we are now completely surrounded by this herd of buffalo. What a lovely spot to be. From being surrounded by elephant to being surrounded by buffalo. It has shaped up to be a very exciting morning, and of course, the cherry on top, Shiduru and Tandi. Been a lovely morning out here on the Djuma property in Sabi Sands. There is a very big buffalo bull here, just off to the right. Look at those horns, glistening in the sunlight. He could do some damage to a lion. That menacing look through the branches, as if to say, I dare you. Tammy, you are so welcome, and it's a blessing for me to be out here and bring you Africa at its best on the live show. Such a privilege to spend time with these animals. Interpret their behavior. Well, from all of us out here in Djuma, thank you for watching. And we'll see you again this afternoon. Cheers.